Okay, so we're going to talk about the what is GIS for demo activity. And again, it's shared here in the GEO-OWL implementation group. And when you click through it, you get to this map. And if you want some other materials to look at, look in the Google folder. There's files here that will walk through this in text. So let me walk through it now here on screen. So we're starting out on a map. We're zoomed out. There's the place marker for Temple Ambler to orient us again. And what I want to do is take a look first, let's say, at hospitals. Like GIS can track where are hospitals located in the United States. And so I see a blue marker with an H in it for hospital, pretty intuitive. And when you look at where these markers are concentrated, it seems like they're concentrated in cities, right? That I see a whole bunch in Philadelphia, I see a whole bunch down here in Washington or the Baltimore area, Allentown, New York City, Harrisburg, etc. So I guess that makes sense. Hospitals are in cities because that's where a lot of people live. Okay. But let's take a look at Montgomery County specifically and see if there's some additional information we can figure out about where hospitals are located by just focusing on Montgomery County. So switching on the county boundaries here. All right. And we can see by the label, there's Montgomery County. But I tell you what, let's run a filter to make this a little bit easier to focus on. So I'm going to filter the counties so that the county name is Montgomery. Oops. And that then gives me Montgomery, Pennsylvania. In truth, it also gives me some other Montgomery counties elsewhere in the country, but we're not going to look at those. Okay, so when I look at Montgomery County here, and I'm looking at where the hospitals are located, well, there's definitely sort of a concentration around West Norriton. But, you know, there's probably more people who live like closer in towards Philadelphia. I don't know. So when I look at this, I can start to just describe spatially, like where are most of these hospitals located? And sure, just really focus in on Montgomery County. I'm going to do the same kind of a filter to the hospital layer. So I'm going to say county is Montgomery. Okay, so when I look at this, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 hospitals inside of Montgomery County. And if I want to let myself kind of like break down, you know, into different segments, Montgomery County, let me go ahead and add a sketch. Like I'm going to just draw a line here. Okay. I'm just going to draw a line that sort of bisects Montgomery County into two parts. All right, the southeastern part and the northwestern part. And so looking at that, you know, I'm like, wow, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of the 14 hospitals are south of that line, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them are north of that line, and the ones that are north of that line are, the ones that are northwest of that line, they're real close, right? There's only these two that are outliers to that. So it's like, man, there's a real concentration of hospitals in this central area of Montgomery County, and then more towards the south, and it's pretty empty towards the northeast. So what I want to do is say, okay, what could explain these locations? That is there a correlation, right? Are the hospitals like just grouped randomly? No, they're not evenly distributed. Are they located near certain features? And what I'm hoping is that students pick up on is, oh yeah, actually they're near major roadways, like this one here, right next to, what is that? and I have the navigation layer switched on to make it easier. So that's near, Route 113. This is near Route 113. All of these hospitals down here around Norristown or the greater Norristown area are sort of at this conjunction of 76, 276, 476. Now, they're not right on it, except for this one here, but they are on like major roadways that run through here. So this is the major street running through. And then when you look over here, right, so this is just off of a major roadway. And this is also just off of 276 down here. So hospitals tend to be located right where people are, like in cities, but also where lots of streets go running through. And if we remove the filter on hospitals, for example, and take a look back in Philadelphia, okay, you'll see that, that hospitals are sort of lining up along like broad streets, and then roughly, the Market Street cross section there. And then when they're not right on it, they tend to be out here near the perimeter roadways. Okay. So, in fact, if you really wanted to get into the distribution of hospitals, interestingly enough, Hershey, Pennsylvania is a pretty good example. You don't have to get into this, but can. So if I zoom into Hershey, you can see, oh, Hershey has 2 hospitals, and they aren't located right in the center of the street grid of Hershey. They're not in the most densely populated area. Where they are located is along the major roadway, and specifically the places where you have this confluence between 322 and I guess Main Street. So they're out here at this end of Hershey because this end of Hershey has the greatest connection to roadways that run west and northeast and east, as opposed to if they were out on the east end of Hershey. There's not quite the same transportation network from there. Okay, so we're talking about hospitals just to warm up that issue for the students. And so now I'm like, okay, let's try this again. Not talking about hospitals. Okay, so switching off the hospital layer. And also going to remove that piece of sketch because we're not going to be doing the same Montgomery focused analysis. So instead, I want to look at fire stations. Where are fire stations located? Because you got to figure that hospitals provide emergency services, fire stations provide emergency services. Maybe there's a similar distribution. So let's turn on the fire stations layer. And that's a lot of fire stations all over the place, okay? So let me again filter them just for Pennsylvania. Let's just focus on fire stations in Pennsylvania. Okay, so state is PA. Okay, so looking at Pennsylvania fire stations, do I get the same concentrations by city? Well, I guess, yeah, there's a whole bunch in Philadelphia. There's a whole bunch around Allentown, a whole bunch around Harrisburg. But they seem to be like rather evenly distributed in other places, right? Like there's not too many places where there is absolutely no fire station, and it certainly does not have the same pattern as hospitals. Hospitals are much more concentrated on population centers, transportation corridors. Fire stations seem to be more spread out. Okay. Why is that? What is driving that? Okay, so at this point, you might want to stop and discuss what is it that fire stations do? What happens at a fire station? What services do they provide? What are ways that different people interact with the fire station, even when it's not a fire? Like that's sort of the important point, is that fire stations do a lot more than just respond to fires. In fact, they serve many social functions as well. So as we look at that, what can help us think about it is if we look at not counties, but municipalities, okay? So if I zoom into Montgomery County, just to kind of give an example, all right, we see the county boundary, and now I'm going to switch on the municipality layer. So municipal boundaries, right? Like we see that Philadelphia is all one thing because Philadelphia County is one municipality. But when you look inside of Montgomery County, it's chopped out into all of these different pieces. So for example, there is Ambler right here versus over here where the Temple Ambler campus is Upper Dublin. And then a little bit up the road, you get to, what is that? Lower Gwinnett. All right. So when I look at these municipalities, do I find a fire station within each and every municipality? I don't know about each and every one, but it seems to be like more common than not, right? Like there's a fire station inside of Ambler, there's a fire station inside of whatever that is, you know, fire station inside of here, inside of there. There are some exceptions as you look around, for example, out here in Chester County, I believe. You know, like I see this this place, Willistown, yeah, Chester County. Willistown does not have a fire station inside of it, but it does have, but you know, Willis Township does enclose another municipality which does have a fire station within it. So if we wanted to, we're not going to do this right now, but we could run an analysis, right? GIS holds all this data. GIS can also do analysis. We could run an analysis to say for every municipality in Pennsylvania, okay, and there are a lot of them. There's about 2,600, 2,700, 2,571. Okay, so for looking across all 2,571 municipalities in Pennsylvania, how many of them have a fire station inside of it and how many of them don't? And if you run the analysis, you'll see it's about 2/3 have a municipality inside, only 1/3 don't, and the 1/3 that don't are typically served by something that's immediately adjacent or something that it's enclosing or something that it's enclosed by, as you can see in some of these examples out here in Chester County. So that is what GIS is for. GIS is for seeing where things are, but also being able to look at patterns and infer connections and run analysis to sort of really take a deep look at the world spatially, and not just in the way that you do on a static map, but the way that we're doing here dynamically. We can do things like turn on counties. Oops, there it is. And we can run filters, or we can remove filters. Oops, there we go. County layer selected, clear out that, and hit save. Yeah, and I've got all my counties back in there. And these data sets can be quite large, right? Like we saw fire stations for the entire United States. And there'll be global data layers as well. So GIS is a really, really powerful software to come to observe the worlds, learn about the world, study the worlds, or design new things, make new decisions about the world. And it's not that complicated to use. We're going to do a lot of things with GIS this week that don't require a whole lot of technical savvy. I mean, after all, everything we're doing right here, it's just running through a browser, not too hard. So that is the what is GIS for activity, just a demo to the students. And I hope that you're able to work with it now that I've shown it to you.